Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Spectrum Autism Talk to the Expert series. The Spectrum Autism is a support group that is committed to create awareness about autism in the community and help define the role of the community when it comes to raising special needs children and their families. Empowering parents is a theme for 2023 on the Spectrum Autism. It is a series designed to mentor parents and to share lessons from life. And in this league, we have parents from the co-authors of the book called Talking Fingers with us for a series of conversation. Talking Fingers, Voices of India, Non-Speaking Autistics, celebrates neurodiversity and advocates autism is not a realm for abyss anymore. Today, we have Akila Vaidyanathan ma'am, mother of Nishant, a 24-year-old adult on the spectrum and co-author of Talking Fingers, which is available in Amazon, but it is currently sold out, and in 2-3 days, it will be available again. So this is our second meeting with Akila ma'am. And Akila ma'am is the founder, director of the Amazing Charitable Trust, which is based in Coimbatore. It is an NGO that helps facilitate families navigate the disability maze through skill training programs. She is also the Vice President South of Autism Society of India. Her initiatives in the field include adventure camps, Whale Week, and Art for Autism Festival, Smile, sensory motor integration in the learning environment, Sense, sensory friendly cinema, Quiet Hour, the autism friendly shopping experience in association with Big Bazaar. Welcome, ma'am. Akila ma'am empowers parents and professionals alike and has been instrumental in creating courses that have embraced over 100 adolescents and adults in the spectrum. Her son, Nishant Sriram, is a freelance artist and he does art, digital art, cooking, baking, and fitness activities. He has come a long way from the initial days of his diagnosis as having regressive autism. Welcome, Akila ma'am.
Hi, Umyal. Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you and Team Spectrum Autism.
So first of all, ma'am, let us talk about the book, Talking Fingers. And what would you like to say about the book and involvement of Nishant in this book?
Yeah, so really a privilege, I think, for Nishant to be part of this book. I know, Chitra and Padma from before. Chitra has attended one of the adventure camps we conducted, and I think Nishant did an interview for Padma's blog, and that's how I know them. And few of the other parents like Ritu, Indu, Prashanti, they've taken some of our courses, so I knew some of them. But to bring everyone together collectively as one book, I think is a brilliant idea. Thanks to Chitra and Padma, and because it brings the attention that to the fact that it's not just a one-off case that one child who is non-speaking. There are 16 of them
16
who are
featured in the book.
Featured in the book, and they are from different parts of the country, different ages, different abilities, and they are all communicating, typing, writing, or pointing to communicate, and they are conveying their thoughts and feelings. So that makes this book a very powerful medium to convey the message that Chitra and Padma set out to, that non-speaking does not mean non-thinking. So that's the slogan of the book. So I think that is very powerful. And I'm glad Nishant got an opportunity to be part of it. As by nature, he is, very communicative about his needs, thoughts, and feelings. But he usually communicates more with the inner circle of familiar people, his teachers, friends, etc. And when asked, he will also put down his thoughts. He's not a natural writer, let me see. So I think, when he agreed to answer the 20 questions put forth, I was very happy as a parent. And I think he gives very deep insights, very brief, but very to the point insights about, his world and his opinions. And I think I'm glad for the opportunity for it.
So when you found that Nishant had autism and regressive autism. And in how was the feeling you had at home, and what was the support system? உங்க வீட்ல எல்லாரும் என்ன சொன்னாங்க, எப்படி நீங்க அதை ஓவர் கம் பண்ணீங்க?
So, Nishant, regressive autism, first of all, is a kind of autism where the child has normal milestones almost till the 18 months. We didn't think he had a problem. And then we saw that, he was even speaking. He was using words, he was speaking, he was socializing. Very happy child. Suddenly he seemed to withdraw into his own world, use less words, have certain, sensory issues, some fear of height and things that were not there before. So initially it was very puzzling for us. And my mother is also a teacher. She was with me. I was working at that time abroad. And so she was with me. So even for her, it was very puzzling. For me, being the first child, I didn't know what was supposed to be, developmental milestone. But she was also puzzled, and even the doctors were puzzled because we were in a place where, like, we were in Singapore, where they very meticulously
Monitor the
note down all the milestones. So every 3 months, 6 months, whether he turned, whether he spoke, what was his first word, all the developmental milestones were there in the book. So, and he was always on time, in fact, slightly ahead. So it was very puzzling. And he's 27 now. So this is almost 25 years ago. Even for them, they did not have enough information about this regressive autism. Autism, they thought from beginning the child will not have eye contact, the child will not smile, So this sort of autism, so they just said, wait and watch, it could be a temporary phase. So I think I had, at that point, we had a lot of hope, like any other parent, that this will go away.
Yeah.
But it did not go away. And that is when we decided to move back to Bangalore, which is where I'm from. And both my parents and in-laws were there. And I think I was very lucky. I got the full support of my parents and in-laws in terms of emotional support. All of us didn't know what was happening to this child.
So,
and in that sense, we were all
together as one day at a time. That is what you thought.
Yes. And we didn't really think at that time it's a big thing. We thought it is temporary. He will just, like he lost his speech, he's going to just gain it back, is what we thought.
So from there, how did you make him independent and communicate his needs?
So we did immediately, put him into speech therapy, occupational therapy. He also had the good fortune of going to a very good Montessori school called Head Start for 4 years in Bangalore. So he had all the support that he needed. A family was also very loving and supportive. But in spite of that, and I was working before in IT, I quit my job because I felt I needed to be closely working with him. And so, in spite of that, we found that other things, like his understanding was there, very active, bright child. Even in school, he could complete all the Montessori activities, most of them. Initially, there was an issue with attention sitting, but upon working on it, he found it interesting to complete activities. But the speech part of it and the communication part of it seems still difficult. For example, he could identify, if you say point to apple, he will point to apple. But when he wants apple, he was not saying he wants apple.
Okay.
So this was very puzzling for us. And even the therapists who were working with him could not really give a good explanation, or more than explanation. I was looking for techniques to help him. And that's when I sort of researched online, and I found that in the West, they were using this methodology called picture exchange communication system. And since he was so good visually with pictures, I thought, let me try it out. And I got the manual from abroad, read it. Those days, internet was there, but everything was not available so easily. So I had to get the manual, I had to laminate the cards, and then within 6 weeks, you won't believe it, I went through the method step by step. Very often this method is misinterpreted. It is just using pictures is called as specs. No. Here we teach a child a specific way when they have a need. When I have a need to communicate, I will take the specific picture, one picture at a time, and go and give it to the adult, whoever I
Okay.
want to communicate. So if I want water and Amma is holding water bottle, then I will go to Amma. Or if Tata is holding, Tata in our language is grandfather is holding the water bottle, then I'll go to Tata. So specifically, it teaches them to exchange a card, which
Okay, okay.
conveys that they need something.
That's really amazing.
So it really changed the
Mm,
whole,
mm, mm.
pattern, and he became. See, from me having to guess what he
So
wants and
when
ask him
he was
choices.
able to tell the basic needs, you were able to proceed further.
Yes, there's a long journey ahead of that. This is just the baby step. This is
Oh.
like pre-KG for communication.
So you mentioned that you went to all therapies, occupational therapy, speech therapy. So ஒரு தெரப்பி தாண்டி ஒரு பேரண்டால என்னென்ன பண்ண முடியும் டு இம்ப்ரூவ் த கம்யூனிகேஷன் ஆஃப் த சைல்ட்? ஏன்னா பேசுறது மட்டும் கம்யூனிகேஷன் இல்ல அப்படின்னு சொன்னீங்க. ஸோ வாட் அ பேரண்ட் கேன் டூ அட் திஸ் ஜங்ஷன்?
So பேசுறது மாத்திரம் communication இல்ல. That means just speech does not translate into communication. Very often we do have verbal children on the spectrum who are saying, echoing things, but they are not intending to convey something to the other. It is just a mere repetition. So I would like to emphasize that speech therapy, occupational therapy, these are all very important for the child. It helps to bring in certain basic foundational skills. But if speech therapy is not leading to communication, then we need to examine why that is happening.
Other
And
avenues.
yeah, so one point I'd like to make is that child is always communicating right from childhood.
Yes,
They
they
through
point out
crying or
things, they cry,
pointing or certain gestures, even a young child is communicating. So
Yes.
we can always, as a parent, understand the intention of the child. And one of the things you can do is you can speak the intention. Very often we do, the child points to something, immediately we give it to the child. Suppose he points to the pen and you just give it. But instead of that, you can say, oh, I want pen, and give it to the child. So you are modeling what the child can is supposed to say. Or very often the child is paying attention, say he's paying attention to the fan is going round and round. Very often children on the spectrum tend to do that. So when that happens, you can point, you can speak for the child. Oh, look, there's a fan, it's going round and round. So this is something we call as parallel talk. So there are these short things that you can do. You can model to the child more and more. What we tend to do, and it's human tendency, if somebody is not speaking, we speak to them less. But that is not what is going to help the child. We may
What
need to
helps the
speak a
child.
little more. And only when we are expecting some response to them, we can go a bit silent to give them a chance to respond. So
Yes,
2 or 3 things, like, whatever way, to gesture or by looking or by their voice, whatever way they are communicating, please respect that and add on to it. I always say enhance communication, add on to it.
Now we have an appreciation from Meera Balaji, and she says, Akila, your journey with Nishant is so inspiring.
Thank you, Meera. She's a
Thank
friend.
you. So some speech therapists, they say, ma'am, when the child points out, don't give it to your child. Ask them to speak. So what, but we are taking away the rights of the child by doing that. So how do you suggest we deal with this?
Yeah, so this is like a conditional thing that is being often used, saying that unless you say this word, I'm not going to give it to you. So it becomes like a threat or a conditional. The very same thing, how we say to the child is also important. So we can, we know the child has difficulty, and by making it like that conditional, they become very anxious actually, because they are not able to say it, they want the thing, and then we are saying no. So we could, initially say, like I said, the first step we always say is model. So you can say the word and you can give it to them. This is called as unconditional reinforcement. You just give it
Just give
initially.
it.
So they realize as soon as the word is said, that's when I get it. So that's the first step. Then once after a few days of that, you can delay a bit and maybe just say the beginning of the word or something like that. And if the child is able to even say, suppose ball, and the child is not able, but he's trying, and you can just, oh, you try to say ball and you give it to the child. So then slowly we can do it. If we make it into a forceful thing, it increases the anxiety. I would not recommend that. So slowly we grade the level of prompt, we fade the prompt. These are the skills that a therapist or a parent should actually acquire, is know when to prompt, how much to prompt, when to fade, what type of prompt, should I point, should I say it verbally. If we learn this, then it's going to be easy to work with the child.
We have one more comment, ma'am. Purnima Amma, she says that she has gifted this book to her daughter as now, and she's looking forward to reading this book herself.
That's very nice. Thank you so much, Amma. And I see you always involved with the Spectrum Lives. Thank you for being there.
So my next question, ma'am. So children, autistic children are visually very bright. So when we introduce language, can we introduce one language at a time, or we can introduce 2 or 3 languages also at a time?
So we happen to be in a country where we use multiple languages. நம்ம எப்பவுமே mother tongue தமிழும் use பண்ணுவோம். At the same time, we want to also,
English, Hindi,
English is very important, especially because most of the children now are going towards English medium education.
Schools, education.
And even if you look around, even most of the content, even a menu in a restaurant or the label in a sugar packet, most of it is written in English. So for literacy purposes,
even the name
English,
codes of shops are in English only.
Yeah. So initially, I feel, when the child is really young or a beginning communicator, it's okay not to really introduce English, because if everybody in the house is speaking in a particular language, for example, we are from Tamil Nadu, so everybody, the tata, party, appa, amma, ellarum Tamil la pesranga. Appo vandu initially the focus need not be so much on English for communication purpose. But as the child has picked up a few words in the mother tongue, it is important to parallelly also say the word maybe in English. Thanni venuma, water, kudikiriya, something like that, so that the sort of a mixed language can come up. And then slowly, as they move to a phase where they are ready for literacy, reading, writing, then both languages can be used. So it should be in a phased manner. I don't think there is a barrier for children on the spectrum with language. But yes, because they do have some difficulties, it's good to start the focus on the mother tongue
and then move to other languages.
Yeah.
So one thing is, the child now goes to a school setting. So how do we make other children understand the needs of the child, how they can communicate with our child?
So that is a very important question, Umyal, that we need to make the other children understand and give them the skills, because automatically they may not know how to interact with a child who has special needs. And but our children by nature, young children by nature, are very curious, friendly, like you say, curious, friendly, and interactive. So they may try in many ways, and then they may give up if we don't teach them.
Yes.
So one of the things I remember, when my son moved from this Montessori school, Head Start, he moved to Prakriya Green Wisdom School for his first standard. I remember having addressing the assembly of the school and telling the children about Nishant, like how his nature, that he's also friendly, he loves to run around, he likes maths and science, about him a bit, so that they get to know, because by asking him they may not get to know him.
Yes.
So I gave a little intro that is important to explain about the the new friend. And also certain things, like for example, if you just called out Nishant and it's a new voice, he had difficulty those days to respond to new voices. So he will just ignore and go. So I will say, you can touch him before you call him, Or if you want to say hi, you raise your hand and say hi or give a high five.
High five.
Then he will look at you. So this sort of small tips, when I gave, the children were able to approach him. And even the best time for them to interact used to be the snacks time or the play time. So I would tell them that you can interact with him by sharing your snacks, or I would encourage him also to share his snacks or play with him. He would be included in all the games. Like I think I've shared before that he'll strike the goal on the wrong side, and they'll be irritated that he doesn't know the rules, but they did still include him. They would not. Then I said, maybe you don't count his goals, let him just be there, but for the sake of the game, don't count his goals. So we as adults, maybe when we give them these ideas or strategies, they quite easily
understand.
accept. And in the classroom, they really wanted him because he was quite bright in terms of his spelling and memory. So in the quiz competitions, they would fight that Nishant has to be in our team. So that way, in the classroom, he could be a part quite easily. And I think being in an inclusive environment for him, he's also visual and auditory learner. For example, the tables, all the children will say the tables. He can't say it. But listening to it helped him just memorize. He didn't have to say. So suddenly one day I was just doing some multiplication. He's giving the answer directly. So I was wondering how he could do it. Then I realized he is listening to the other children and internalizing, say, the multiplication tables.
So the children are really interactive, friendly and all that. But parents, on the other hand, they see autistic children as a threat to their children, as aggressive children. So how do we help the parents?
So one myth is that all children with autism are not aggressive. Yeah.
Yes.
So one needs to acknowledge that, but also there are children who are aggressive. So both facts we need to acknowledge, that there are children who from a young age, many of them get more and like for my son, aggression started more after 12-13 years. Till then he was not aggressive. So till then it was very easy to include him in a school. But still, I understand the fear of the other parents because it is a fear of the unknown.
Yes.
Yeah. But so it is also important then to include them in the sensitization sessions. Yes. Besides that, one needs to remember that all children could be aggressive.
All children are aggressive. Once they are frustrated, they are aggressive.
Yeah, if you have worked with a group of young children, it is not necessary that they need to be autistic to be aggressive. Aggression is prevalent now among the children, and it is, like you said, due to frustration. Whereas the triggers for frustration for a neurotypical child may be that somebody took away their thing, or that kind of they are not wanting to share, or that kind of thing may trigger aggression. But in terms of a child with autism, it's actually something to do with them. It's never to do with the other child. They may be overwhelmed with some sensory overload, or they may find the content too tough, or they may have had a night that they didn't sleep.
Yes.
Or they didn't eat properly. So these are the reasons why they actually get irritated. And so it is important, I think, for the school and the parents to have a behavior management plan, whether it is to give them more breaks or to have a communication method for them, or to have the parent interaction with the teacher who will tell them, okay, today is a day he didn't sleep, so can you not load him or give him a little bit of a rest. So all this will bring down the aggression from point of the view of the classroom. And if this is explained, I think, to the other parents in the way that they understand, I think they will be more inclusive for sure. Because I'm sure even if their child, neurotypical child, is aggressive, and they want the teacher and school to understand that it is not a trait of the child, it's only a phase.
Yes.
We should make a difference between a mood and a trait. So we cannot call aggression as a trait of autism. Yes, it is present because of their difficulties with sensory, disturbances, as well as communication handicap, makes them more prone to certain behavioral patterns.
So you said Nishant is a very bright child. So he learned all complex math very easily. But for many autistic children, even though they are bright in all these things, some basic skills such as buttoning a shirt or tying a lace for the shoe, that will not be very easy for them. So how does a parent manage this? Understand the child and not lose their patience or get frustrated?
Mm. So, yeah, it's a good question because I remember that, Nishant was exactly that. Certain things he could pick up very quickly, but certain things were very difficult for him. He had severe motor planning difficulties, which mean he could not button his shirt or tie his shoelaces. So, one of the things I realized early is these are all skills. Again,
Life skills.
it is these are skills, whether it is maths or whether it is buttoning, each one is a skill. And some skills are difficult for him and some skills are easy for him. So it does not define him as a person. So he is all that put together. He's a person who, we tend to glorify, focus on the skills he can do. Oh, he can do maths very well.
Yeah. Maths and science are glorified in India very much.
Yeah, it is glorified. And then the other thing is, not taken care of. Many a time, when that happens, the tendency is that, okay, I can button your shirt, you do maths. I've heard this even from older children, no? Parents, neurotypical parents saying, "Nee padi,
I'll feed
nee
you the
poi
food,
padi,
you do."
நான் எல்லாம் பாத்துக்கிறேன், நீ நல்லா படிச்சு mark வாங்கு. This is what they say. So, but we especially
academics is only the interest of the parents.
Yeah.
Not
Especially with a child with autism, I feel life skills is very important. And I think I would like to thank here. I mean, I'm just remembering I was advised by Dr. Shobha Srinath of NIMHANS, who told me this. She said that it is very important, more than academics, he should be toilet trained, he should do his own things, because later on in life, if he cannot do these things, it is difficult to, have people give for him. And so this is very important, and I took it very seriously. And I, because he had motor planning issues, I used to do hand on hand, meaning if he has to wear his shirt, I'll find the strategy, how to keep his shirt on the bed, how to pull it up, how to, put his hand on hand and teach him each of these skills. And
so
I think by
made
the
him
time
independent for daily living.
Yeah, 6 to 7 years, he could have a bath, wear his clothes, he could, manage his toileting. Even eating was a difficulty for him. He could not chew properly. He would spit out if there is a difference in texture. So I helped to strategize, how to, make
Step
him
by
eat,
step.
crunchy foods, how to make him use mixed texture. So now by 6, 7 years old, he could eat, he could pack his bag, he could follow a schedule. So those became my priority, because other things anyway, I didn't have to work too hard on that aspect of learning.
So now we have seen all about special children, how we can integrate them into inclusive schools, and how can normal children be taught in the same lines and to accept them, like in the curriculum itself.
Yeah.
So like you were mentioning, sensory training can be given to all children and all that.
Sure. See, I have till Nishant was in 3rd grade, I was in India, in Bangalore, and inclusion worked very well. Maybe it was a few years ago. And I really want to, thank the school management who were very committed. So like you also run a preschool, and the commitment of the person on top is one of the important things. So then everybody falls in line and says, okay, I'm going to try. The second part of it is to have a curriculum that is multisensorial curriculum. Yes. So which is not only focused on, academics or reading and writing and math, but on all the input is given in multiple ways. This will benefit all children, right? Yes. Yeah. So if
multiple intelligence theory of Howard Gardner says that.
Yeah. So at least early education, if it is given in that sense, a multisensorial input, And children are allowed to give their answer also in multiple ways. So no, the writing means it need not be physical
Yes.
writing. Maybe they can point, maybe they can, type. Even from that young age, they can use an app or something. Then,
But the parents are like I ran a play school, and the first thing is they ask me, "Eppa en kulandai eludum?" That is the
yes.
first thing they ask me.
Yeah. So while we can work on those skills, I'm not saying
Mhm.
my son started writing only at 13. So I'm
Okay.
not saying giving up. And he's
Mhm.
speaking now at age 25,
Mm-hmm.
few words. So I'm not telling the parent to give up on that,
Okay.
but not to make that the only way of
Mhm.
responding. When Nishant was not speaking and not writing, we used to
Mhm.
write for him.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
we used to write whatever he is
Mhm.
pointing, I would write. And then even
Mhm.
whatever I wanted to give as choices, multiple
Mhm.
choices, I would write. So, so much of writing when you see, when you listen a lot, they say, right?
Mhm.
Say you want to become a singer. How much listening you have to do
Yes.
to get the correct tune.
Mhm.
But for reading and writing for our children, we think automatically they should get it. Some of
Yes.
our children may be
Mhm.
blessed, they may get it. But we have to give enough input, continuously read to them, write
Mhm.
in front of them, give them the specific training to use a keyboard or use an alternate way. There are methods, called chalkboard training, etc., which will bring in the writing. If by 6, 7 they don't pick up, see, even a regular neurotypical child may write late. Some of them write by 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you
Yes.
go through the Montessori method, they don't force the writing. Some you have to, break into writing, they say.
Mm.
Some start writing by the age of
Three and a
3,
half.
and some by 4.5, 5.
Mm.
And when it happens naturally and automatically like that, it is an internalized skill. Otherwise, if we force them, it may be a splinter skill. They may use it only for writing, say, the alphabet. They may not be able to generalize it and use it later, or even the sizing. When you make it smaller, again, you may have
Yes.
to
You
work
have
on
to,
it. So they need to have some lot of pre-skills to get writing. There was a question, I think.
yeah.
In the chat.
Ritu Rase, she says, I always learn so many new things every time I listen to you.
Thanks,
And
Ritu.
Malaya Kantire, he wants to, Akila ma'am, to throw light on communication language through speech.
Communication and language through, see, I feel that these are three aspects. Communication is a social aspect. Yeah, when you and I are talking and I am saying something and you understand it. We say, நம்ம இப்ப தமிழ்ல கொஞ்சம் பேசினோம், அது எல்லாருக்கும் புரியாது. So what I said was, I am talking in Tamil now and everybody does not understand. Why? I am communicating, right?
Yes.
But the other person should also understand the same language. So language is the understanding or the cognitive part of the process. Yeah. And we have the third aspect, which is the speech, which is the movement. It's the motor aspect of the language. So even now, this whatever question came through typing, where there was no speech, but I could understand what the person said, and I'm trying to reply to it. So we have to remember these are three different aspects, first of all. So we have to work on all three. There is nothing like you have to work on this and not that. But if speech is not happening, it is because usually
Teach them to
because
express themselves through other means.
Yeah, speech is not happening. It's a motor issue. Just by repeating speech or just by giving the language, yeah, it is not going to produce speech.
Yes.
Hence, there are two things we have to work on. One is we work on the language, help them communicate through an alternate mode so that the anxiety comes down, and you can continue to work on the motor aspect. There are therapies called oral placement therapy where they specifically work on the movement. And that is how at this age of 25 also, during COVID, I had an opportunity to help my son to produce some words. I did not know of this method till then. And in India, we did not have therapists who were trained in this methodology. Now more and more therapists are trained, and he is able to produce a few words. He's trained, taking this training from Shireen Idikulla from Bangalore.
Okay, okay,
He's a
okay.
speech language therapist. So it's possible, but these have to be worked separately. Like I said, he could not say, wear his t-shirt. It is a motor aspect.
Yes.
So speech also is a motor aspect. So we have to work on that individually to improve that aspect. In the meantime, we can't keep waiting for it. We have to build the language, we have to build the understanding, we have to build communication that I can communicate with others, build the social aspect. Otherwise, we'll be losing it. If we
Yes.
wait for speech,
Speech.
then we are losing a lot of time.
So to the parents, how will you tell them that which kind of school is good for the child, whether it's an inclusive school or it is a special school or it is a normal school? So how do parents identify what is best for the child?
Right. So my answer is in the context of India. Okay. Where there are less inclusive schools, let's be honest about it.
Yes.
There are less inclusive schools. So if we are not able to find a school that will be accommodative, it is not about inclusion, is not about dumping the child in a normal school. But the school should also be prepared in two ways. One is to include and give specialized, individualized attention to this child with different needs. So they should have the resources.
Yes.
And from their own objective, they don't want the other children to be affected. So they should have resources that can balance the needs. That is when the school is ready to be inclusive. So if you have the good fortune of getting admission to an inclusive school, certainly you should try it, especially when the child is very young. I would say 3 to 5 years, try it out. But for most children, I think it's hugely beneficial to be in an inclusive environment. It was with my son also. Though he was very active, he was non-speaking, and he was, probably, many schools may not be ready. I'm very thankful. Like I said, his school took him. Initially, they'll do the activities in the sand pit because he refused to come in. So they were ready to take that extra attention. And I would also be there ready to support right outside the school. I would be waiting. So that kind of partnership you need to work out with the school. Then it is a beautiful thing, and there is a lot for the child to learn. Because you, as a parent, also then you see the normal development. You can say, okay, these are the gaps. You can work on them and all that. But for very few children, they may not have the prerequisite skills. They may find it very distressing to be in a regular school, or not have the opportunity. Like they may not be a regular school nearby which is ready to include them.
Take them.
So initially, then it is okay to focus on building those skills of learning, of sitting, of responding, of communicating, of regulating. These skills you can work through one-on-one therapies. I would still say try to take the child to inclusive, and schools are not the only places for inclusion. Take them to all the family functions. Take them to a park. Take them to a music class if they're interested in music. Take them to art class.
Museums.
Include them somewhere or the other in the community. So I think, yes, inclusion is important, but not necessarily only in the schools. Yes. And when they are ready, I think you can take them to schools, especially in Tamil Nadu, with the children who have come to me for support. Even if the mainstream schools are not taking, government schools are ready to help. Actually,
government schools
so
are
at
ready
least
to
for
take.
a little while, going to the government school has helped the child, not in learning maybe, but in socializing, in learning the structure of the school. And after a couple of years there, they are able to move to the regular other private schools also. So I think one should take the opportunity if it is available and work towards it if it's not.
So finally, ma'am, I would like you to give a message to the therapist and the parents who are there from Nishant's point of view.
So I think this was one of the questions of the book. So I'll just try to read out what Nishant answered. Yeah, so this is in page 110 of the Talking Fingers book. What is the message for parents and therapists? So to parents, he says, love your child unconditionally spend more time with your child to understand them. I think that's very important,
Yes.
because I feel when you many a time we are talking from what we want the child to do.
Yes.
We are not focusing on what
On
a
the point
child
of view of
wants
the
to.
child.
So many a time children with autism will be focused on something. Maybe they like, water, so they'll be playing with water. And we're constantly pulling them away from water and trying to make them all sit on a table. Why not let them, play with water, write in water, do a lot of, put all the toys in water and say, identify it from water,
Okay.
something like that. So so like we used to do all the activities for Nishan in the sand pit,
Okay.
because that's where he liked to be.
Mm-hmm.
So spend more time with your child to understand them and focus on their achievements and not only their failures. Reach for more than what you think is possible.
Dream
Yeah,
big.
yeah, dream big and presume competence, like they say, I think, and be patient. Yes, I think that's very good advice, because as parents, we often pass on our anxiety
Yes.
for results to the child. And, rather than that,
They get frustrated.
yeah, it's like, watering a seed for a long time, and then, suddenly the shoot comes out and becomes a beautiful plant. That is the process that I've seen with him. So I think patience in that sense is very important. And his message to teachers and therapists from the book again is teach skills, not just content. Repetition kills the interest. So this was really something about him, that he did not like things being repeated. Once he has answered a question one time, if he's asked one more time, he did not like it. And he's like, I'm done with that. Then we need breaks, alternate ways to answer, structure and support, he says. So he means more like sensory breaks. Sometimes, after 20 minutes, he may need a break before he continues the activity. So an understanding of that help us cope with our sensory needs and meltdowns. We need support at that point. And last but not the least, I think, is treat us with dignity.
So the book Talking Fingers explores 16 different adults on the spectrum, and I would recommend you to get this book. It's available on Amazon. The link we have shared here, and the Akila ma'am has already shared her insights on how her journey with Nishant was, and that link is also shared in the comment section. So I would encourage you all to take the inclusion pledge. All you have to do is share a video of yourself in our comments and say, I take a pledge to be inclusive and accept the unique. We are looking forward to reach 1 million hearts. Thank you so much, Akila ma'am, for sharing all insights and helping parents and empowering parents with special needs children, and helping the children also with these insights. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Umyal. Really happy to have shared this space with you. And I'm so happy we are from the same place, Tanjavur. So
yeah. So next time I come to Coimbatore, I'll visit your center.
Please, please.
Sure. Thank you.
And keep the good work for inclusion going.
Thank you, ma'am.